Breaking news coming in the last couple of minutes as it's now being reported that early arriving WWE Night of Champions production employees are reportedly stuck at Qatar airport. The reason why is because Qatar has closed all airspace as UK and US tell citizens to shelter in place following the escalation of tensions between the United States and Iran. We'll let you know all of the details in this developing and breaking news story and how it could affect this weekend's Saudi Arabia PLE Night of Champions. Hey guys, welcome back to Wrestling News 365. Hope everyone is doing very well. As always, there are plenty of news stories to get into in the world of professional wrestling and a big developing breaking story which may be a sign of things to come when it comes to the status of WWE Night of Champions this weekend. Of course, the event is scheduled, as of right now, still to take place in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia on Saturday. However, due to ongoing escalations and tensions between the United States and also Iran and just the general vicinity of several countries in that region, the event and security for the event has been put up in the air. Now, obviously, there's a new development on this, and we'll get to sort of the background on it first and then get into how this could affect and is already affecting WWE employees. Now, Qatar have temporarily closed its airspace after the US and UK told their citizens in the country to shelter in place until further notice. The US Embassy in Qatar suggested in a notice online that Americans do so out of an abundance of caution. The UK government said it was issuing a warning external in response to the US alert. Of course, the warnings come after the State Department told US citizens in international locations to, quote, exercise increased caution after the US bombed 3 nuclear sites in Iran on Saturday. Iran has threatened to retaliate. Now, the BBC are reporting they understand there is a credible threat to the US-run Coalition Air Operations Center in Qatar. In a statement, Qatar's Ministry of Foreign Affairs said the closure of its airspace was to ensure the safety of residents and visitors. In a separate statement in response to the embassy notice, the Foreign Ministry said the warning did, quote, not necessarily reflect the existence of specific threats. Now, you may say, how does this all affect Night of Champions? What has this got to do with Night of Champions? Well, with the airspace around Qatar temporarily shut down due to rising tensions in the Middle East, many WWE production employees who flew in early for Saturday's Night of Champions in Saudi Arabia are now stuck at Qatar airport. This news comes from Brian Alvarez from F4W Online. Of course, Qatar borders Saudi Arabia to the south, following both the United States and the United Kingdom instructing their citizens in Qatar to shelter in place until further notice. Qatar temporarily closed its airspace today, Monday, to ensure the safety of both its citizens and visitors. It's unknown when and if that order is going to be lifted. Now, this news, as I mentioned, comes on the heels of the US bombing several nuclear sites in Iran over the weekend. According to the Associated Press, Iran retaliated Monday with a missile attack on a US military base in Qatar, but no casualties were reported. At this point, however, it would seem it's business as usual for WWE/TKO for their Night of Champions premium live event set for Riyadh, Saudi Arabia this Saturday. The company hasn't publicly commented or replied to media requests about any changes in plan due to the issues. WWE will hold Raw tonight live on Monday in Columbus, Ohio. Before departing for Saudi Arabia, they will host Friday SmackDown in Riyadh before Saturday's PLE. Again, whether or not this delay and having WWE employees who have gone or on their way to Saudi to get things set up, having them be stuck at Qatar airport, if that's going to delay things, we'll have to wait and see. Now, Dave Meltzer's reporting on social media that Gulf News, Al Arabiya TV and Al Jazeera TV announced a full suspension of civilian flights through the airspace of the United Arab Emirates, Saudi Arabia and Qatar. WWE crew, setup crew already left and is on the way, with Brian Alvarez, as mentioned, saying that they are currently possibly stuck there. Now, in a bit of an update as to what people have heard and what WWE is saying, as I mentioned, not really that much. Now, Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful Select is reporting they have an update on what talent have heard, or rather not heard, about WWE Night of Champions and SmackDown this weekend in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. Of course, there were reports Monday that US jets scrambling over Saudi Arabia led to natural concern for the event and the status and security and safety of it. As of 2:30 p.m. Eastern, when this report from Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful Select was initially put out there, talent that was slated to to go to Saudi Arabia say they had not been updated on any changes. They're still planned to head over midweek via a charter plane that would have them there for SmackDown. As highlighted yesterday, there have been additional fan events that were expected to be announced in the coming hours and days. Now, talent that Fightful spoke to said they expect WWE is figuring things out like everyone else is right now. For those asking if talent are financially incentivized to go, talent that Fightful have spoken to are no longer bonus for the Saudi shows, as those types of things are baked into their contracts now. There is not an additional financial incentive for the talent on that trip that Fightful have heard of. Now, of course, as I mentioned, this is a developing story. This is a story that kind of you get the WWE reaction to, or the pro wrestling reaction to, once we get the sort of wider news. So obviously with retaliation and what have you. Qatar, just in general, is the home to the largest US military base in the Middle East. Around 8,000 US citizens live there, according to the State Department. It's also home to the US CENTCOM's headquarters for all its air operations in the Middle East, where British military personnel also serve on rotation. The US has about 40,000 troops stationed in the Middle East. Flight tracking websites show planes diverting to other airports following the closure of Qatari airspace. According to Flight Radar 24, there are 100 flights bound for Doha. Hamad International Airport is one of the world's top 10 busiest airports on international traffic, with around 140,000 passengers passing through per day. Now, in terms of just what's being said over here in the UK, advice for British nationals in Qatar may be updated, quote, over the course of the next few days. That's according to the Foreign Secretary David Lammy. He told Parliament, quote, this is an ongoing and fast-moving situation. He added that the government would keep advice under close review and there may be need for further updates over the course of the next few days. Now, the message from the US Embassy was followed by warnings from other groups in Qatar, including several universities, that asked students to go home. Bilateral relations between the US and Qatar are, quote, strong, according to the State Department, which says Qatar has helped play a financial, political and military role in dealing with turmoil in the region. So certainly the US on good standing with Qatar, and these retaliations today, what that will mean and what it will mean for the region and bordering countries, we'll have to wait and see. As I mentioned, it is a developing story. We are just getting this news kind of through in bits and pieces when it does come out, but the latest news is that the early arriving WWE Night of Champions production employees are reportedly stuck at Qatar airport at the time recording this video, because airspace around Qatar has been temporarily shut down due to these rising tensions in the Middle East. As far as things state right now, WWE Night of Champions is still stated and slated to go ahead in Riyadh Saturday on June 28th. Now, obviously, there's still time to go between now and then. The remainder of the WWE employees and talent are still yet to fly out. These are just sort of the employees that would be setting up the arena, production elements, etc. Plus, they've got a live broadcast tonight on Raw they have to focus on too. So I guess we'll find out more over the course of the next 24 to 48 hours. Either way, of course, we'll have it covered here on the channel. So if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe, click the like button, and make sure that you stay tuned because you feel like this one is going to develop a lot over the next coming days. If we get any more information, we'll let you know in a future video.
Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.